What narcissists hope will happen after the discard might sound simple, but behind it lies a sophisticated psychological strategy designed to maintain control over you, even when they're no longer in your life. You may think that once the relationship ends, everything is over. But for a narcissist, the end is never about letting go. It's the stage where they secretly hope you'll collapse on your own. They don't need to be present to keep manipulating you. All they need is to plant enough fear, self-doubt, and twisted truths, and then step back, waiting for you to do the rest. In today's video, we're going to expose exactly what narcissists secretly hope will happen after they discard you, and more importantly, how you can do the opposite and begin reclaiming your true self. This isn't just a story about leaving a toxic relationship, it's a journey back to who you really are. If you've ever felt like you lost yourself, if you've ever been stuck in the cycle of blame, shame, and second-guessing your worth, this video will help you see what they never wanted you to realize. True freedom begins when you stop fighting to be understood and start believing in yourself. Don't take your eyes off the screen. Hit subscribe right now, because the most important part is still ahead, and it just might be the turning point in your healing journey. When a narcissist leaves your life, whether they were the one who discarded you or you chose to walk away, it is never the end in their mind. To them, it's merely a shift in tactics. What they hope is that the seeds they planted, self-doubt, worthlessness, guilt, and fear of abandonment, will continue to grow inside you like a psychological virus. They don't need to be physically present to maintain control. They just need you to believe you can't stand on your own. This is their silent wish, that they've destroyed the foundation of your identity so deeply that you won't be able to rebuild it without them. They hope you'll keep replaying the very words that once broke you. I'm not good enough. I deserve to be abandoned. I'm unlovable. They don't have to say them again, because if you believe them, they've already succeeded. And this is the dangerous part. They want you to become the one who continues the inner destruction. If you don't realize it, you'll remain trapped, not because they're still around, but because the narcissist version living in your mind is still active, controlling your thoughts and emotions every single day. Many survivors of narcissistic abuse have admitted, I don't recognize myself anymore. This isn't an exaggeration. It's the result of living in a distorted reality, where everything you once loved, believed in, and were has been stolen, twisted, or subtly suffocated. But here's the good news. If they could destroy your truth with manipulation and lies, then you absolutely have the power to rebuild it with awareness and truth. Healing isn't just about walking away from that person. It's about breaking free from what they made you believe about yourself. So what happens when the narcissist is no longer in your life, but their legacy still weighs heavily on your mind? This is where many people stay stuck, not in the physical relationship, but in the invisible prison of a corrupted belief system. The narcissist may have left your life, but their voice still echoes in your head, criticizing, diminishing, emotionally manipulating. They may not be physically present, but you continue to live as if they're still right behind you, watching, judging, micromanaging your every move. And this is exactly what they hope will happen, that you won't need them to be there for you to keep hurting yourself. I've worked with hundreds of survivors of narcissistic abuse, and one haunting pattern I've seen is this: a loss of identity. They say, I don't know who I am anymore. And it's not because they're weak or lack resilience, it's because the narcissist spends so much time distorting their inner experience that they slowly lost touch with their true selves without even realizing it. Like water eroding stone, the narcissist gradually wore down their self-esteem, decision-making ability, and even their sense of personal worth. When this happens, you're no longer living in your own reality. You begin to live in a reality the narcissist created. A world where you're never good enough, never right, always apologizing, always needing them to feel valid. And when you leave that relationship, you think you're free. But the painful truth is you've only left the physical prison. The psychological prison remains intact. That's why so many people feel stuck for months or even years after leaving a narcissist. They still can't speak their truth, still fear being judged, still feel unworthy of love, and they ask themselves, why am I still haunted when they're no longer here? The answer lies in something profound that trauma expert Dr. Janina Fisher once said. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. You weren't just wounded in your mind, you were reprogrammed on a neurological level. All the times you were shamed for having an opinion, All the times you were punished with silence for not obeying. All the times you were gaslit into questioning your reality. These moments imprinted themselves in your nervous system like a series of emotional microshocks. And repeated often enough, they reshaped how you perceive yourself and the world around you. It's no longer just a personality trait, it's a survival response. The reaction of someone who was once punished for daring to be themselves. You became a people pleaser, not because you liked it, but because you had to be that way in order to survive. You became quiet and avoided conflict, not because you were weak, but because every time you stood up for yourself, you were met with coldness, indifference, or cruel words. You still haven't forgotten, and the narcissist hopes you'll continue living like that, trapped inside a false self, a temporary identity you created to stay safe, not the real person you were born to become. But here's the truth they never want you to discover. Your true self was never destroyed, only buried. What they didn't count on is this. There's a part of you, even if it's buried and silent, it is still alive, still longing to return. It's the part of you that once dreamed, once believed, once loved life freely. That's the real you, not the version you had to become to be loved, but the one you truly are when you're not being manipulated, when you're not living in fear. Healing isn't about becoming a new version of yourself. It's about returning home to who you truly are. And this is what the narcissist fears most. Not that you'll just survive, but that you'll thrive, that you'll succeed, that you'll live a life they can never reach, because it's a life built on truth, not illusion. You don't need to prove to them or to the world that you are right. Your growth, your peace, and your confidence are the proof. When you stop trying to expose them and instead focus on healing yourself, you take away the one thing they value most: control. Every minute you spend trying to prove the truth to someone who doesn't believe you is a minute you lose yourself. Narcissists are masters of distorting the truth. They create a version of the story where they are the victim and you are the villain. And they've been planting that seed for a long time by talking behind your back, pretending to be kind to your face, and putting you in a position where you're always on the defense. And you know what gives them the greatest satisfaction? It's not that they fooled others. It's when you get pulled into that fight, abandoning yourself in an endless battle to set the record straight. They don't win because they're right. They win when you miss out on your own life, chasing their echoes. That's why real healing isn't about exposing the narcissist. It's about freeing yourself from the need to do so. The most terrifying thing for a narcissist isn't criticism, it's indifference. It's when you no longer react, when you no longer play the game they set up, when you live your life free, unapologetic, without an audience, without needing validation, because you've finally realized you are the truth. If this content touches something deeper than your heart, then stay with me for the next parts, because what we're about to explore is exactly how you can begin to escape the false self, return to your authentic self, and build a life that the narcissist can no longer reach. When you start to realize that you've been living for too long in a protective self, one that isn't really you, but a survival mechanism shaped by a toxic environment, that's when true healing begins. But be careful. The narcissist hopes you'll stop at awareness, but never take action. They don't mind if you wake up a little, as long as you stay stuck, as long as you're too afraid to leave the false comfort zone of that false self, as long as you keep doubting yourself, hesitating, and staying locked inside the limiting beliefs they planted in you. One of the most insidious traps they leave behind is the inner conflict between your logic and your emotions. You may know they were wrong. You may see their behavior for what it is: abuse. You may understand all the tactics: gaslighting, triangulation, projection, blame shifting, and yet at some point you still feel pulled back by something vague but powerful, the feeling that maybe I'm not good enough, maybe it was my fault, maybe they really did love me and I just didn't see it. That is the echo left behind in your nervous system, because the damage a narcissist causes isn't just in words, it's embedded in biological reflexes. It's in the way you were punished for expressing yourself, in the frowns, the cold stares, the weaponized silence. All of it taught your nervous system one message: if I'm truly myself, I'll be abandoned. So you learn to shrink. You learn to stay quiet, to agree, to nod, to say what others wanted to hear. Not because you were weak, but because that was how you survived. But you are not in that relationship anymore, and your old survival strategy is now becoming your new prison. This is the turning point. To heal, you can't just become aware. You have to retrain your sense of inner safety. You must relearn how to live as a free person, not just on paper, but in every breath, every decision, every small action. Because if you don't feel safe being yourself, you will keep performing. You'll keep living under the mask the narcissist glued to you. The overly nice person who forgets themselves, and the endlessly tolerant one who lost their voice. The strong one who doesn't allow themselves to cry. And the narcissist hopes that will go on forever. They hope you'll keep yourself in the cage. They don't need to lock you up anymore. You'll do it yourself, and they'll smile from a distance, watching you, no longer beside them, still living as if they control you. But here's the truth. You have a choice. You always have. You can learn to decode your reactions, to recognize that the numbness, the hesitation, the fear of being misunderstood isn't your personality. It's the imprint of trauma, and you can work through it layer by layer with compassion for yourself. No one can replace you on this journey. No video, no expert can heal you if you don't dare to face your own wounds with patience and gentleness. But if you do, you won't just be a survivor. You'll be someone who has healed, someone who is free, someone reborn. And here is the final truth the narcissist cannot stand. They no longer control your emotions. Your silence is no longer fear, it's discernment. Your lack of reaction is no longer paralysis, it's you refusing to play the game. They are no longer the center of your universe. They no longer determine your actions, inactions, sense of worth, or sense of failure. You have taken that place back. And in that moment, even if no one sees, no one applauds, a quiet revolution has begun. Not through dramatic speeches, not through courtroom victories, not through public exposure, but through a profound reconnection to who you truly are. And now you know what the narcissist truly wants after the relationship ends isn't just your departure. They're not seeking closure. They're seeking prolonged control. They hope you'll remain trapped in a wounded self, distorted by fear, self-doubt, and the haunting belief that you're not worthy without them. They don't want you strong. They don't want you at peace. They don't want you rebuilding your life, because that would mean facing the one truth a narcissist cannot bear, that they no longer have power over you. But you're here, you're listening, learning, and expanding your awareness. That means you've already gone farther than they ever expected. You don't need to return to the past to prove anything. You don't need to win a public battle. The real victory comes when you choose to live authentically, fully, and freely. You'll no longer be led by the need to be understood. Instead, you'll learn how to understand yourself. You'll no longer wait for the apology that never comes. Instead, you'll learn to let go and forgive, not for them, but for you. Forgive so you can feel light again. Let go so you can move forward. That's something a narcissist can never do, and it's what makes you different. You have the power to heal yourself, and that journey begins today. Step by step, you will rebuild the foundation that was once torn down. But this time, it will be built with awareness, compassion, courage, and commitment. To yourself, you are not alone. There is a whole community walking this path with you. People choosing healing, choosing truth, choosing to return to the purest version of who they are. If today's message resonated with your heart, hit the subscribe button. This isn't just a video. This is a journey, and I want to walk it with you. Leave a comment below if you're going through something similar, or if you've made it through the darkness and want to empower others. Your story might just be the light someone else needs to find their way out. And never forget, healing isn't a destination. It's a choice you make every single day. You deserve a life free from manipulation, a life defined by you, and you are strong enough to claim it.